Hey guys, Ningen here, bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and today we have a special viewer challenge that comes from the comment section of my previous video. You can see it in the thumbnail there. I did a video yesterday where we took the physical VEGITO Blue with his EZA into the Extreme INT Super Battle Road, running him on a future team under double future Gohan leads, so we could get the nice big attack stat numbers, get some like crazy damage counters and things like that. And yeah, he did pretty well. He showed off his stuff, did loads of damage, lots of cool crit counters and whatnot. But in the comments section, shout out to God of Bacon who left the comment there if I really wanted to flex physical VEGITO Blue in the Extreme INT Super Battle Road, then I should use him as the leader. So I found a rainbow friend, I put a team together, and we jumped in here. So obviously the challenge for this really comes, although he's a very good unit and I obviously brought some very strong units on my team, VEGITO Blue's leader skill is only 4 key and 80% to stats. Now obviously we've gotten better units since Super Battle Road first came out that have made it a lot easier, but back in the day, even with double 120 leaders, people were struggling to complete certain stages of the original 10 Super Battle Road stages. So obviously here we are using double 80% leaders, so 40% less than that. So we've only got a combined total of 160. Now I remember one of the hardest ones for me back then was Super AGL, because I didn't have Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, so I had to use AGL Super VEGITO with his 70% leader skill, and then a friend Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, so that was still 190%, so that's still higher than the combined leader skill that we have here. But obviously, as I say, much more units have come out since the release of Super Battle Road that make these kind of things easier, not to mention just things like EZAs in general. So obviously we are running the double physical VEGITO Blue leads. He's going to be obviously putting out a fair bit of damage with his additional attacks and his counters. Then we have the LR Gogeta that you can see here now. Obviously we kind of had to bring him, one of the strongest super physical units in the game. Then we have the Super Saiyan Goku, who recently got an EZA. He's very good for Super Battle Road because he has a high chance to stun, as well as a high chance to crit. So he's able to consistently stun enemies, which is obviously very, very useful on Super Battle Road, as well as the fact that he can put out some reasonable damage as well. So that's obviously very helpful. Then we have the MVP 17. He's a good unit anyway. He lowers attack with his super, but of course he provides key and defense support to everybody on the rotation. I tried to bring a couple of units that would up everybody's defense just to try and make up for that lower leader skill, so that's why we have the LR Saiyaman 1 and 2 here as well. They give key and a defensive boost to everyone on the rotation as well. And then of course we have the currently global exclusive awakening for the Super Saiyan Blue Goku. He is a nuker who can hugely increase his attack and defense by picking up physical orbs. So obviously he can make up for the discrepancy in the leader skill by just racking up a huge defense stat, so he doesn't take a load of damage. So one thing you might have noticed though is the item selection that I chose to bring was very odd. And obviously you can see from the sort of red icon in the top right corner of the game screen there, the fact that this was recorded on the screen recorder on my phone. This was legitimately my first attempt. I was just kind of trying it out to see how it would work. So I decided to bring some very basic items, just so if I used a couple of them and then found by like the second fight or something that the run was going to be far too hard, that I wouldn't have wasted any premium items. So I only brought Sensu Bean, Dende, Barber and Princess Snake. Now obviously Barber, we popped one here, is very, very useful for a rotation like this where we have VEGITO Blue and we have someone on rotation who can boost his defense. So by using that item, it means no one can super attack us and we get a bunch of counters off without having to worry about taking a super, especially before VB gets off the supers of his own, because obviously until he does that, he is quite like fragile in that first slot. So it does work out very nicely to force the enemies to not be able to super. And then of course the Saiyaman 1 and 2, you'll notice a few times, I think almost every time to be fair, they come up on rotation. I deliberately get their 12 key super attack because their 12 key super attack seals as well. So it just creates another opportunity for us to get free damage with counters from VEGITO Blue. Because obviously, if we're running double VEGITO Blue leaders, then we got to have a VEGITO Blue on both rotations. But I mean, the fact that the LR is still on 1.8 million attack stat under double 80% leads is it's pretty crazy. As well as the fact that I did mention this in my Fusions no items run, but my LR Gogeta is only 79%. He is not Rainbow. So, but yeah, VEGITO dishing out some counter damage here. The run was definitely a little bit easier than I expected. If I was going for like a serious attempt on the first run, I probably would have brought items like the Android 8 or the Future Bulma instead of just bringing like Senzu Bean or Dende. But obviously, as it turns out, we didn't really need it. So. And Frieza is stunned for this turn, so we don't really need to worry about how to do the rotation. I'm just trying to figure out who I want to keep. But I've decided, I think pretty much for most of the run, I keep the Saiyaman 1 and 2 on this rotation with this VEGITO Blue. Just because their pairing works out really nicely. That extra defense for VEGITO Blue is super useful. Plus, of course, the fact that they can seal. Meaning if you can, like depending where the attacks are in the rotation, if it's good strategically for them to go first, it means they can seal up an enemy and then you don't have to worry about VEGITO Blue getting super attacked by them and just getting off a ton of counters. But obviously Frieza is stunned. I still went for the 12 key super just on the off chance that he somehow survived the turn, because then he would be sealed. Obviously you never know with like the RNG for VEGITO Blue just how many attacks we are going to get and whether those are going to be crits. But of course he just goes off here with a couple of super attacks and we take out Frieza. So we're already halfway through and we haven't exactly had to burn through our items, which was kind of the main thing I was sort of worried about with this run, like potentially. But it's definitely been going okay so far. And now we've got the Cooler Squadron, very appropriate considering at the time this video goes up, Cooler will be dropping, as well as the Armoured Squadron unit as well, in what? Like 6 or 7 hours from the time this video goes up. Obviously I will have previously put up the video about my thoughts on the Cooler banner and whether you should summon. Everyone, I get mad that people keep saying he's an easy skip, so you've probably seen that video since it went up first, but if you haven't, it'll be one of the ones linked at the end. Check it out, because if you're not free to play, I think there definitely are good reasons to at least drop a few summons for Cooler. So I want to save our Barber potentially for the last fight, as we only have one left. So I decided to pop a Princess Snake here. So obviously we could potentially get super attacked, but all those attacks in the front slot. So yeah, of course Dore decides to come in with a super, but 74k, not the worst. Our team actually has more HP than I was expecting for double 80% leads. Obviously we do have some very strong units on the team, but we still have over 300,000 HP, so very, very good. And then, yeah, I think we only take that one super attack in the first slot here, so thanks to the Princess Snake and obviously following his supers, VEGITO Blue just taking no damage, dishing out some counters, and get the fusion to do a... Well, I suppose they're not fused yet, are they? I'll get the LR Gogeta. I mentioned this in my Fusions video. I'll always refer to them as LR Gogeta, even though we often don't see them fuse into Gogeta, but there you go. So, did quite a lot of damage in that one turn. Took out Naze, almost completely took out Thouser. Did a nice little bit of chip damage to Cooler. So, I decide here, because we got the defensive buff from the Saiyaman 1 and 2, I don't use an item here, I don't think. I do obviously break up the pairing of Saiyaman 1 and 2 with the VEGITO Blue, just because it works out quite nicely to have Goku try and seal Cooler in that second slot, and then we can get Saiyaman 1 and 2 to seal Dore, just to guarantee he doesn't super attack them, and then of course he will be sealed for the next turn. But unfortunately Cooler does come in with a super in the first slot, but thanks to that extra defense from Saiyaman 1 and 2, we only take 100,000. I say only, but it's definitely not as bad as it could have been. Obviously, category super Battle Road. If VEGITO Blue takes a super before he supers, you're looking at some like 200,000+ damage. So I'll quite happily take that. And we are very slowly building up the Dokkan attack. I haven't been like deliberately avoiding same type orbs, but we are actually flying through it a little bit faster than I had expected. Obviously with the OG stages of Super Battle Road, you want to try and either get the Dokkan attack very early in the third fight, or once you start making progress through the third fight, you want to try and save it for the last fight, because obviously there's nothing worse than having to use your Dokkan attack on Super Battle Road. We're in a situation like this turn, for example, where the only enemies that are left are basically dead. So, but yeah, this is a great turn. Dore is the only one not stunned, and he is sealed, but he's not attacking until the end of the turn. So it means VEGITO Blue with his potential multiple supers, and then of course the LR with their 18 key super are just going to go crazy here. So there's like no need to use an item. VEGITO Blue finishes off Dore with his first super. Gets an additional. The additional normal was skipped. I don't know why the game still does that. I feel like that's something that... I feel like that is a bug that should be fixed at some point, because it's been happening for quite a while, where you'll get an additional normal and it just won't show the animation of the character attacking. But it's still in the game, so I'm assuming it happens on JP as well. I don't know why that hasn't been fixed, but oh well. So we get on to Boo and Barbody. This was always my least favourite of the final fights, because obviously when there's only the two of them, they have a ton of HP. And even though there's only two of them, they attack so many times in each turn. So this is a perfect opportunity to heal up and get some more defense with the Princess Snake, and then use a Barber, because every single attack is in that first slot. So unfortunately I do misclick the orb, and we don't get a super attack with VEGITO Blue. But obviously it's not going to ruin the run for us, but that is a bit disappointing, because I believe the RNG from his additional supers is not the best in this turn. So that extra super attack would have been a nice little bonus bit of damage on each of the following counter attacks. But this is definitely the kind of perfect spot you want to put VEGITO Blue in. Every single attack on the turn is directed at him, and we've sealed up the enemies so they can't super attack us. So there's just counters galore. But yeah, unfortunately, as you see, the RNG with the additional super is not very good. So by missing that first one by accident, we end up getting no super attacks with VEGITO Blue, which is a little bit of a shame, because obviously that increased his attack and defense. Not only good for the fact that that super attack does a nice chunk of damage, but then of course those follow-up counters would have done more damage as well. And then unfortunately, I think for the first time in this run, the Super Saiyan Goku did not get the stun on Fat Boo. But it's not really going to matter too much, because as I'm sure you can see right now at the bottom of the screen, the Dokkan bar is good to go. So I'm going to get it with our LR Gogeta. Obviously, as much as VEGITO Blue can put out damage, it's from the multiple attacks and counters. So for the Dokkan attack, it definitely makes the most sense to go with the LR Gogeta. And then I'm still going for the 12 key super at the end of the turn with Saiyaman 1 and 2. Because I feel like Fat Boo probably will survive the Dokkan attack. So if he does somehow manage to survive the turn, at least he will be sealed, ready for next turn. So we hit all the nodes, and let's see what we can get here. We've got 1.68 million attack stat with the LR, with no attack support on the rotation for them. So obviously the Saiyamen only give a buff to defense and ki. And what are we going to do here? Yeah, 2.3 mil. So I think that's Barbody out of here. Yep, because VEGITO Blue is automatically attacking Fat Boo. Look at this. Couple of supers. How many supers can we get here? We've got 2. Additional normal. Oh, look at that. 3 supers in one turn. That's the... that's what you want to see right there. But then, of course, unfortunately, Fat Boo with the super. If that had been a normal attack after 3 supers, I feel like the clapback from VEGITO Blue would have been an instant GG. But, of course, he hits us with the super, and then we seal him. So now he is left alive on the tiniest sliver of health. So, obviously, we're going to put VEGITO Blue in the first slot. Let him do the honours and finish off Fat Boo. Now, obviously, he doesn't get a chance to super attack beforehand, and there's no support on the rotation in terms of attack. So, unfortunately, without a crit, the counter attack doesn't finish him off, but that's no worries at all, because we hit him with this big old final Kamehameha, and it is all over. So there you go. That is Extreme Int Super Battle Road beaten with double double EZA physical Vegito blue leads. Shout out to God of Bacon for the challenge in the comments. I've said this a lot of times in my theme videos and stuff. I'm always up for doing challenges or themed teams based on requests from you guys in the comments section. So if there is anything you want to see, let me know down below. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. You can follow me on Twitch or join my Discord. The link is in the description below. And I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.